The global arms race for Bitcoin is officially here. Abu Dhabi has just made a move that could send Bitcoin to the stratosphere. In this video by Simply Bitcoin or Bitcoin Simply, Dante Cook uncovers a statement that I've never heard before: Bitcoin as the new oil. So we're going to break that down and find out how all this pans together and it can send Bitcoin to the moon this cycle. Stay tuned. Feeling that meme coin FOMO kick in, like you missed out on Doge and SHIB and watching Trump soar to #2? Don't miss your next shot at flipping the script. Flapjacks is more than a meme. It's deflationary, sticky, and community built with utility. Don't wait for FOMO to set in. Stack your gains now at flapjacks.xyz. Hey guys, welcome back. Drip Coach here with Drip and Farm for Poverty, where we don't trust, we verify, and operate with integrity and transparency. This is another channel I've been watching recently. They're pretty much 100% Bitcoin only. And this statement, Bitcoin is the new oil, I had never heard, because you always hear Bitcoin as the digital gold. And we're going to break down what that means. And there are definitely some similarities when you understand what happened to oil in the 1970s. So let's first play the clip, his intro, give you some context.
The global arms race for Bitcoin is about to take off. Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth fund just bought $436 million worth of Bitcoin in Q1. What's crazy is that this is just 10% of 1% of all of the assets that they have under management. Can you imagine what would happen if they had a 2 or 5% allocation to Bitcoin?
I also think that people don't have typically adequate amount of gold in their portfolio. In other words, gold, if you didn't have a view of the market, like the gold market, it's a very effective diversifier under the other portfolio, because when bad times come, gold is a very effective diversifier. So
So we're gonna pause it there because the main clip about this is Ray Dalio talking about just basically having your portfolio exposed to gold, and by gold he means Bitcoin as well as OG gold. But the arms race that Dante was introducing was about Abu Dhabi's 436 million, and then if they were to allocate say 1 to 2%, then that would be like $600 billion if they do 2% allocation. And that's just one nation state, one country, that's just a sovereign wealth fund, just one. And there was the other clip, I don't have it up right now, but it had Larry Fink from BlackRock talking about these sovereign wealth funds globally all doing a 1 to 2% allocation. And this one from Abu Dhabi, that's literally $600 billion that's available. So there's just tons of capital that can be coming into Bitcoin over these next months, years, however long this actually takes. And additionally, Wisconsin just announced that they hold 321 million in Bitcoin. And as of the latest February 10th, 16 out of the 50 US states are betting on a Bitcoin reserve and have some kind of exposure or what would you call that, mining towards Bitcoin. So the reason I bring this up is like, it's not just nation states, sovereign wealth funds, it's US states, it's other countries, it's Fortune 500 companies, it's the pizza delivery guy, it's the taxi driver out here in Cambodia. Like, it is literally for any and everyone. And because of that simple fact, there is not enough to go around. Therefore, the price has to go up. And that ties into Bitcoin being the new oil, because for centuries, we've run on, well, maybe decades, not quite centuries, but basically running on some kind of fossil fuels, petrol, oil, things of that nature has pretty much been the driving powerhouse for a lot of our industries and advancements. So it has been the underlying gas layer, so to speak, to push us into the industrial age and make progress. Well, now with Bitcoin doing this same thing, that's where this idea that Bitcoin is the new oil, and that's what we're gonna look at in this clip.
Arms race of, folks around the world trying to accumulate Bitcoin.
The thesis for Bitcoin becoming the new oil is playing out as expected.
My sort of base case right now is that Bitcoin is the new oil. And the reason the Trump administration is so interested in this is I think they see exactly what Treasury and Paul Ryan are talking about, and that they're going to use Bitcoin like they did to oil back in 73, 74, which is, yes, the US absolutely has a debt problem. Even Treasury's admitting it now. Even the Fed's admitting it now. Everyone knows it, and it's very acute. And we need balance sheet, desperately. We need balance sheet anywhere that is not Fed balance sheet. And so we need a way to weaken the dollar while strengthening the dollar system. Mm-hmm. And you look at this and you go, gosh, this checks all the boxes. If we inflate the heck out of Bitcoin, you're going to increase stable coins. You're going to increase stablecoin demand for T-bills. What that will do, because Bitcoin is a global asset, is it will draw in dollars from around the world.
You probably don't remember that.
I was definitely not aware of this. And yeah, that's where this ties in with the Bitcoin becoming the new oil, because in 1973, the Arab-Israeli war, Arab members of OPEC imposed an embargo against the United States in retaliation for the U.S. decision to resupply the Israeli military to gain leverage in the post-war peace negotiations. The onset of the embargo contributed to an upward spiral in oil prices with global implications. The price of oil per barrel first doubled, then quadrupled, imposing skyrocketing costs on consumers and structural challenges to stability of whole national economies. And this is 1973. Earlier, early 1970s, 71, 72, this was the precursor to that, if you will, is that the petrodollar was introduced, and the entire globe was basically conducting and finalizing oil-based trades in US dollars. So since the 1970s, most international oil transactions have been conducted in US dollars. Countries thus need to hold US dollars to buy oil, creating a consistent demand for the currency. And that is exactly where Trump's kind of tariff, beat him over the head with the carrot or the stick idea comes in, with him talking to BRICS and other countries. It's like, okay, if you're not going to use dollars anymore, then he needs a way to basically be able to fund the debt. And if he's not getting countries to buy US treasuries or use dollars, then that's where the tariffs come in. So he has to get that money from somewhere, because we can't pay it ourselves with our GDP. We just don't have the money. So it's got to come from somewhere else. And that's the whole point in that Jack Mallers video I did, where being the global reserve currency means that you can give other people your dollars and they give you your stuff. And in exchange, we were taking a higher tariff tax from them and not imposing one from our side. But if all this is going to become unraveled based off what's happening with Bitcoin, then things have to shift. And if Bitcoin becomes this new oil, as Dante Cook is expressing in this video, and as the forgot who this was in this video was talking about, but then there's a possibility that, yeah, the US will have to look at definitely getting their foothold into the Bitcoin network. As Michael Saylor is always talking about, the best and easiest way to do that is to sell the gold, and then you weaken other countries that use gold as their reserves, and then you buy half or 20% or whatever of the Bitcoin network, and you still have the US dollar, but now you have capital and currency. And that definitely looks like the play. I have no idea if that's what this administration has in store, but sitting on $37 trillion of debt, 36, something like that, they definitely have to look at the old playbook of what they did here with the 400% increase in oil, and basically erasing the debt at this stage by higher market value for oil. And they can do the same thing with Bitcoin, basically. But I have no idea if that's what's taking place, but this just shows you the amount of opportunities that exist for us if you're still sitting on the sidelines. And if you don't get on board now, you could be left behind, because in this clip, we find out that, or we speculate, so to speak, that there are nation states secretly buying and accumulating Bitcoin. So even though the price seems a little suppressed and chopping sideways, make no mistake, big moves are being made.
At the Bitcoin Meta conference, Prince Philip of Serbia predicted that nation states were already buying Bitcoin behind closed doors.
Bitcoin adoption comes in many forms, from just mining to store of value to medium exchange. I think the one people are really interested in would be the next El Salvador. El Salvador was an outlier. I think we may get a surprise this coming year, hopefully, but we're going to see mining adoption is ever increasing. That is at the nation state level. That's happening all the time. It's happening in secret, happening in open. And the next one that's people talking about right now is strategic reserves. So SOV, store of value. That is already happening behind closed doors, or it will start to happen in the open. When it starts to happen in the open, then that's when the whole game theoretic ripple effects of it will start to take off.
Turns out that he was right. And at that same Bitcoin conference, the Middle East region announced that they wanted to become the Bitcoin capital of the world.
Director of Tourism here in Abu Dhabi wants to make Abu Dhabi the Bitcoin capital of the Middle East. Dubai has the crypto capital moniker, and Abu Dhabi is explicitly wanting to make this area of the country the Bitcoin capital, and we can clearly see it with the enthusiasm today.
And this is why
So that is insane, and that makes a lot of sense. Like, the first thing to me to do, like if you're a country, is to secure the mining operations, because you want to make sure that stays decentralized, as well as have a vote, so to speak, at the table of finalizing those blocks. So countries using especially clean power, reusable, like if you're in Abu Dhabi or in the Middle East, tons of solar, the volcano they're using El Salvador, water energy in some of the places, I think somewhere Scandinavia countries or whatever. So that's number one. Then, like he said, step two is actually doing it as a strategic reserve. So we haven't heard anything like this from like the big players, US and Japan or the EU or anything like that. But the minute that happens, it's that Omega candle that everybody's talking about, because it's just going to be a race to who can accumulate whatever is available on the market. And there's only like a couple million that is tradable daily. I think it's like 2.3 in the last video I showed. So there is a supply shock coming, whether you believe it or not. There's just too many catalysts right now with big players and big money that has no choice but to send Bitcoin to the moon. And your $100 dollar cost average, right now is buying you 0.001 Bitcoin, but that can very quickly be 0.4 zeros and a 1, 0.5 zeros and a 1. And who knows when one Satoshi becomes $1. So all I can say is you got to stack sats and not sit on the sideline and miss out or be allocated into the wrong shit tokens and community cult projects that are going to get you wrecked. And then you're sitting at the end of the cycle looking at your portfolio going, what the hell happened? So as they say, swim with the whales, and you see what big countries, nation states, sovereign wealth funds, all this stuff are doing. And the writing is on the walls, and if you don't take advantage of it now, not financial advice, of course, but I don't believe there will be another opportunity. The longer that this goes sideways at this 90 to 100K range, the less the likelihood of us catching that 70K back down. Maybe in the next cycle, no, not even in the next cycle, because if Bitcoin rips to 200, 250, then you would have to see like an 80%, 90% correction in order to see those levels again. And I don't think that's going to happen again after this. There's just too much money coming in to let it have those same volatile swings that we're used to. But who knows, right? That's the risk you got to take. All right, that's all I got for this video. Hope that provides some insight, some clarity, let you know about the Bitcoin as the new oil and the opportunities that exist if you are not gun shy and have PTSD from the last cycle. All right, smash that HBO special, help a brother out, like, subscribe, comment down below, and until next time, lift daily and achieve your impossible. See ya.
Want to pay your in real life bills with crypto? How about send crypto directly to anyone with a bank account? Spritz Finance is a decentralized solution to be your own bank and connect your crypto earnings to real world bills and payments. They do not take custody of your assets and allow support on multiple blockchains and Web3 wallets. Sign up below using my referral link and you will get $50 back when you make your first $50 bill payment with crypto. Additionally, I will be using referral bonuses to airdrop, donate, or burn based on community feedback. Sign up now.